So this two new bodies of work by Bridget Rountree, it sort of challenges the human exceptionalism that was caused by the Enlightenment philosophy that humans have dominion over everything non-human. And the real focus of this exhibition seems to be how humanity is all connected. We have, it's sort of undeniable now as we're living through this interesting time. So, Bridget, when you and Chi first met, I'd love to just sort of learn a little bit about your encounter.
When I first encountered this work, I was doing a studio visit for my poetic license artist studio visit series. And there were just a couple of these tacked to the wall in her studio, her part of the studio, and I was like, what are these? And so she pulled them out and showed me, and then showed me all the different things that she'd been cutting out. And so it was kind of interesting because there's all these pages with missing people on them, and they would appear here. Mm-hmm. So they kind of stuck with me and did a little something in
ruminated
my mind.
In your mind for a little bit.
So I was like, I want to do something with that.
Yeah, and then our season came around, which was Ripple Effect. And did you find that correlation? Did that kind of bubble up back in your mind when you remembered these works?
Yeah, it's dealing with everything we're kind of dealing with right now, thinking about climate change and trying to make a difference and not being bummed out, but trying to think, what are we going to do to correct this? And
yeah, the ripple effect of how we've handled our connection to the world. Do you want to talk a little bit about your inspiration for this work?
Sure. This body of work is entitled Suspended Landscapes, and it's an idea that I chose suspended as a sense of tossing things up in the air and seeing if we can look at something without having definitive judgment about it, and whether it's valuable, what is valuable about it, what's being presented in these landscapes that clearly are landscapes. They take that perspective of the landscape, but also there's something for me that is open-ended and also slightly disturbed.
Yeah.
So but a disturbance that can be generative. Disturbances are normal.
Yeah. And
can be generative, though they clearly can also be detrimental.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, they have those two. That's the dichotomy here, is that they have the potential to go in either direction, and I think what's happening, today with the COVID-19 sort of experience, where people are kind of closing up their doors, it feels, it's funny because I saw some commentary out there that this is actually, everybody closing up shop and hunkering down feels ominous. It feels frightening for a lot of people, and it's very anxiety, kind of driven visual to see everything closing up. However, it's sort of a tremendous example of solidarity, of human solidarity, saying, we're all in this together. Or where did you first encounter these sort of art history book figurative pieces?
I love art history and do a lot of research in that. I'm not an art historian. I'm an art practitioner and visual artist. But of course, I really love to read art history, theory, different movements in science. I was talking about the Anthropocene and current dialogues around that, the effect that humans have had on the planet, that it has become, or there's been a geological period now named after humans, which is also interesting, the fact that they named it as, after humans' kind of effect on the planet, though writers like Donna Haraway, being ecological, would say that we should be calling this geological time everything but human, because it's actually asking us to look beyond ourselves, and that we are part of a system that also has minerals and rocks and water and animals and plants, and how our language can become more centric and inclusive of not only just human-centered perspective, which is why I meant, or you were talking about Enlightenment era ideologies, which we still live through right now.
Yeah.
So I look at that, and because art historically, these images to me, which are also often romantic images, are Victorian, and also religious. To me, they highlight the ideology of that time, which we still operate through a lot right now. And so in this one, I entitled this one actually Disturbances, and I love to be ambiguous because I think it's an ambiguous time, and that our language and dualistic language and definitions, we have to find a whole other way of speaking and approach that involves story and visual art, and the opportunity to not exactly know what's going on, which I believe a lot is right at the crux of being creative, is being able to be in that moment where you really don't know. It could be a failure or not, but it's a relationship allowing something to emerge, which I'm dealing with a lot in this work and in these landscapes, and why they aren't defined exactly in any type of realistic way.
And now we look, hundreds of years later, how that has sort of reverberated into this very sort of selfie-centered place, right? We now are, or have been. I have a feeling that everything that we're all living through right now is about to transform. And as every art movement has its counter movement, I think we're kind of living the bottom of the bottom, we hope, right?
I hope.
And it's ready for that counter movement. It's ready for that next stage of where we're headed. And you start to see some of those trends, which is why we wanted to connect our season, Ripple Effect. You start to see some of those trends with Nike committing to creating, tennies from ocean trash. And you start to see, the rise and fall of the plastic straw, and just all of these major corporations starting to consider their effect on the environment, and that they actually have the power to make a change and make a difference. So I find that just sort of fascinating in terms of people hopefully finally understanding our interconnectedness. And I think that's the beauty of this piece, is that you understand that you're in this very ambiguous place that sort of feels like a crossroads. It either has an ominous tone, or it also has a hopeful tone, because they're on a journey. They're ready to move to what's next.
And that's why I love making visual art, because it's this relationship with something that you can never ever define or directly point to. You just work around it and see what that relationship is with the unknown, and then something emerges, and the materials do something that I can't control. Everything
tell us about this. Tell us about the process here.
So the idea originally when I started the series was mistakes. What does it mean to make a mistake? And how do we approach that mistake? And what is a mistake? Is it positive? Is it negative? What does it generate? Because we're always in relationship with something. Everything matters. What matters. It emits its own time. And so the idea of making these spills on the paper was to just kind of wait and see what would emerge. So it's really a series of chance actions. Arts and artists are really important right now in the dialogue within politics and science, because we do work in that gray space and in-between space. And so things happen and emerge, and then I will scratch it or pull something out, add a little more ink, and then I let it sit and try not to overwork it or make it muddy or judge it, and just let it sit, move on to the next one, and then maybe go back in and add little tiny bits and work again with the materials. And but I feel it really in relationship to this emergent style of work.
Are you an artist that will let a work of art sit for weeks at a time because it just isn't ready yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've met artists like that, where something it looks amazing. It's what my perception looks amazing and ready to go. And no, not quite ready. Not quite ready.
Yeah,
It's missing
some things are
something.
super fast.
Yeah.
You know, it's really funny, the whole idea of, oh, how long did it take you?
Yeah.
You know,
My whole life.
My whole life, right? Yeah, there's always that dialogue, you know, that time doesn't
Right.
equal necessary value.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I mean,
I
it
guess
equals your
corporate
training.
America, it's very,
yeah.
very important that you punch the clock and do the time, and,
Right.
and you know, it's all measured.
Mm-hmm.
But this work is not, and I don't think that artists often work in that way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about the other body of work.
That was an exhibition called Valuable Content, which was really looking at the content within an image. So often, I'll find myself looking at an image, and there's a lot of art history references there, again, because I love the ideologies of that time and to re-enliven them a bit. Humans move really slow, right? So speed of information and terabytes and markets and videos move incredibly fast. Mm-hmm. We've created these machines, we made them, that process
Purposely
information,
to move
faster and faster
right.
and faster.
We may forget this years from now, right? But it's an important moment to capture, and it's actually so timely and so poignant, your exhibition. I love everything you're saying about time. I have 2 young children, and when, schools closed for 3 weeks, and when they found out that they were going to be homeschooled for 3 weeks, they were so excited.
I would have been
what? We get to be homeschooled? I mean, it was just, and I just thought, wow, what have we been missing this whole time, right? It's that we're forgetting to stop and have meaningful conversations with one another every once in a while. And we have events here with Vanguard Culture, and we do things that are fun, and we do things that are, play with fashion and costumes, and we do that sort of thing. But if you've ever been to one of our events, you'll know that there will always be an opportunity to make a meaningful connection with someone. I mean, we always have these interactive sort of experiences that are, in addition to the performances and everything else, that allow people to sit down and just talk to each other, or engage with one another, or learn about each other in a very humanistic sort of way. And so I love that we are. I mean, if there is a way to see a beauty in everything that's happening right now, it's moments like when you see videos posted of, the Italians who are now, the entire country of Italy has shut down, and you see Italians on their balconies singing to each other with instruments and making music and trying to find beauty in all of this. And so, my hope is that this turns into a renaissance of sorts, where we are remembering to reconnect with one another and creating more art than ever.
I would say to you to find a practice of where you can keep grounding in to keep making the work, because the trick is just to keep doing it and to keep finding that inspiration and value for yourself to do it when it's largely unvalued and undervalued in contemporary society. So go for it.